Hi everyone, very good afternoon and welcome back to CAIIB Grade B. So today in this particular lecture, we'll be talking about the principles of bank lending, right? And also certain associated types of borrowings. As you'll already know that in the last previous live lecture that we had, we discussed different types of bank credit, right? And I told you that this is just an introduction. So today we'll be discussing a much detailed version of that as well. तो चलिए start करते हैं. First of all, we have the principles of bank lending, right? So while giving the loan, what kind of principles a bank needs to follow? So while granting loans and advances, the commercial banks follow three cardinal principles of lending. These are principle of safety, principle of liquidity, and then principle of profitability. Obviously, because banks are not a welfare organization, right? You cannot expect the welfare activities from the bank. They are existing for the commercial rules, right? Commercial principles, and that is why principle of profitability is one of them. Now let's start with principle of safety. Number one. So see, whenever you make an investment, you being a normal investor, whenever you are making an investment, what do you want? You want safety of your investment. So suppose if I have invested 1 lakh rupees, then I would like to have my 1 lakh rupees safe and secure, plus I would like to earn interest onto it. ठीक है, मैं इस पे इंटरेस्ट भी जो है कमाना चाहूंगी. सो दिस इज द एडिशनल रिटर्न दैट आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग. ठीक है, ये तो एडिशन है. This is the additional thing. At the same time, what I also want is safety of my investment, right? So this is the first principle, that is called as principle of safety. The most important principle of lending is to ensure the safety of funds lent. See, because the funds that the banks give for the loans, etc., these are not of banks on their own, right? They take deposits from the customers, and those are the deposits which are being lent as a loan, right? So obviously they would like to have the safety of investment, because if the investment is not safe and if they are suffering huge losses, how they will be able to pay off their deposits. ठीक है, तो वो एक अलग concern है. It means that borrower repays the amount of the loan with interest as per the loan contract. We want the safety of our investment. At the same time, we also want to earn the additional interest, right? So the ability to repay the loan depends on the borrower's capacity to pay as well as his willingness to pay. See, both these things should exist. Capacity to pay, if the person is not having the capacity to pay, obviously he will be declared as insolvent or the bankrupt, whatever the case may be, right? And then comes the topic of willingness as well. Willingness ka topic jo hai, this is relevant in the case of frauds. This is relevant in the case of frauds. So you might have seen, I would not like to take the names, but we have seen many fugitive economic offenders in the last 5 to 6 years, right? Not many, but yeah, a handful of fugitive economic offenders. So that is what they have the capacity to pay if they want to, but somewhere they want to do the fraud with the banking institutions, right? So to ensure the capacity to pay, the bankers depend upon the tangible assets as well as the viability of the business to earn profits. So obviously bank does not give loans like that. They see whether you are able to pay, they see your credit history, they see your financial transactions, they see your assets. ठीक है, उसके बाद में जो है they give you the profits. Now borrower's willingness depends on his honesty and character, and believe me, we do not have what you can say an effective measure to measure any particular person's honesty and character. This is something which is very unique to every individual, right? And this is the trait which we cannot measure. So therefore the banks takes into account both the above mentioned aspects to determine the credit worthiness of the borrowers and to ensure the safety of the funds lent. So this is the first principle, that is principle of safety. And then we have next principle called as principle of liquidity. See, I have a bank, right? And in my bank I have 100 rupees as deposits, and now I have given total 100 rupees as loans. ठीक है, 100 रुपए मेरे पास में एज अ डिपॉजिट थे, 100 रुपए as a loan I have distributed. Now I have nothing to pay if my depositors reach out to me. ठीक है, अगर depositors मेरे पास आते हैं and they demand fund from me, then I do not have anything to give them. So this is somewhere the principle of liquidity comes in कि पैसा बांटो, but उतना पैसा बांटो ताकि आपके पास भी बचे अपने depositors को देने के लिए. So that's what they are saying over here, that banks, they do mobilize funds through deposits. We all know we deposit into the banks, into savings account, current account, right? And this is how the banks mobilize the funds. These are repayable on demands or over short to medium periods. The banker therefore lends his funds for the short period and for the working capital purposes. These loans are largely repayable on demand and are granted on the basis of securities which are easily marketable so that he may realize his dues by selling the securities, right? So basically what we are saying is कि सारा पैसा ऐसी जगह मत फंसा के रखिए so that at the time of need or at the hour of need you are not left with anything considerable. So that is why they are saying कि आप जो है marketable securities में भी invest करके रखो. Marketable securities means short term securities which have a shorter time of maturity or which could be sold off very easily without any loss in value. ठीक है, मैं देखो मार्केटेबल सिक्योरिटी उस सिक्योरिटी को बोलूंगी इफ आई वांट टू सेल इट एट अ शॉर्टर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. ठीक है, अगर मैं मान लीजिए आज उसको बेचना चाहती हूँ, then I would not face a significant loss in the value. ठीक है, suppose I have purchased that security for 100 rupees, so I would be able to sell that at 98 or 99 rupees, right? So this is what we are talking about. That means we should not be facing a huge amount of losses in the value of security. Now moving ahead, and the next principle that I have is called as principle of profitability. ठीक है, so we all know that banks are the profit earning institutions. Profit earning institutions means they are not existing for the welfare. ठीक है, welfare वाला काम तो सरकार का होता है, banks का नहीं. Why do the banks are existing? So banks wants to earn the profit, right? Banks wants to earn the profit. They are profit earning institution. So they lend their funds to earn income out of which they pay interest to the depositors. They incur operational expenses and they earn profit for the distribution to the owners. So there is a phenomena called as the interest margin. ठीक है, interest margin का मतलब क्या होता है? The interest banks are paying on to the deposits versus the interest the banks are earning on to their loans, right? So the difference is the what you can say earning of a bank. Now out of that earning, obviously when you are running an institution you have to incur certain operational expenses, deduct those expenses, and the remaining portion is the profits that you are earning to pay to your owners, right? Just wait for a second. Yes. Moving ahead. Now we have discussed the three principles of lending. Now we need to discuss about the style of credit. See, many of these concepts I have already discussed with you, that the bank credit consists of loans and advances and discounting of bills, right? Kahin na kahin we have already discussed about it. Now in the loans and advances we also see certain different types, example overdraft, example cash credit. Then in the loans we see different kinds of loans. You have short term loans like personal loans, etc. Then you have medium and long term loans. You also have bridge loans and you also have composite loans. Apart from that, in today's class I will also be discussing a facility that is not related to fund based. ठीक है, fund based नहीं है, but that is also somewhere you can consider into the credit part. So a few more features that I would like to tell you over here. First of all, the cash credit system. So this is the major portion of bank credit in India, number one thing. Now let us see some of the features of this particular system. So under this, the banker prescribes a limit. This is called as a CC limit, up to which the customer borrower is permitted to borrow against the security of tangible assets or the guarantees. ठीक है, कुछ ना कुछ तो आपको जो है देना ही पड़ता है, because if you will give something as guarantee or something as a tangible security, then only the bank is going to allot you a cash credit limit, right? The next feature, the banker fixes the cash credit limit after considering the various aspects of the working of the concern, like what is the production of your entity, what is the sales of your entity, right? What are your inventory levels, what have been the past utilization. So basically they do an analysis of your business. ठीक है, आपके business की एक analysis करने के बाद में they allot you a cash credit limit. It is very similar to having a credit card limit. ठीक है, credit cards में भी तो वैसा ही होता है. In the credit cards, what they allot you is they see what have been your transactions, they see what is your income, right? And on the basis of income, they allot you a credit limit. It is also somewhat similar to that. आपका sales क्या है, production क्या है, what is the inventory levels, etc., etc. This is what gives you a cash credit limit. Then borrower is permitted to withdraw from his cash credit account as and when he needs them. Surplus funds with him are allowed to be deposited with the banker at any time. The cash credit account is thus a running account, right? It is a running account जहाँ पे withdrawals भी होते हैं and deposits can also be made frequently any number of times. Suppose I have a business, right? So obviously at the time of need, I am withdrawing from my CC limit. Okay. But suppose I have received payment from my debtors. So whatever payment I am receiving, I am depositing that also into my cash credit account. ठीक है, वो भी मैं वहां पे deposit कर रही हूँ. So this is not just a case of outflow. ठीक है, सिर्फ outflow नहीं होता, inflow भी होता है, right? As the borrower withdraws from the cash credit account, he is required to provide the security of tangible assets. In majority of the cases, in the cash credit limit, they give you on the security of your inventory, right? Because many of the businesses who utilize such kind of account, they have the inventory, etc. If you do have that, then that is taken as a security. If you do not have that, then the other tangible assets can also be taken as a security. For example, the machinery, etc. Right? The charge is created onto the movable assets of the borrower in favor of the banker, like movable asset, like your inventory. And when the borrower repays the borrowed amount in full or in part, the security is released to him in the same proportion in which the amount is refunded. ठीक है? सो जितना आपने रिफंड लोन का अमाउंट चुकाया उतनी ही आपकी जो सिक्योरिटी है वो भी रिलीज हो जाएगी. द बैंकर चार्जेस इंटरेस्ट ऑन द एक्चुअल अमाउंट यूटिलाइज्ड बाय हिम. ऑब्वियसली bank is giving you a facility, bank is not giving it for free, so bank is going to charge the amount from the borrower. ठीक है, वहां से जो है अमाउंट चार्ज होगा. Suppose the cash credit limit that is allowed to me is 45 lakh rupees. Now out of 45 lakhs I have utilized 20 lakhs. So the bank is going to charge the interest onto the 20 lakh, the amount that I have utilized. जो अमाउंट मैंने यूटिलाइज किया है उस पे ही मुझे इंटरेस्ट देना पड़ेगा. Though the advances made under the cash credit system is repayable on demand and there is no specific date of repayment, ठीक है. In practice, the advance is rolled over a period of time. That is, debit balance is hardly fully wiped out and the loan continues from one period to the another. So this is what in practical scenario happens. Basically, if you have money, you deposit it. The amount that you have not deposited, the bank is going to charge the interest onto it. What is going to be the time period for the interest? So the time period for which you have utilized the amount, उस टाइम पीरियड के लिए जो है आपको इंटरेस्ट चार्ज किया जाएगा, राइट. Under this system, the banker keeps adequate cash balance to meet the demand of his customers as and when it arises. But when interest is charged on the actual amount of loan availed of, thus to neutralize the loss caused to the banker, the latter imposes a commitment charges as well. So the unutilized on the unutilized portion of the cash credit limit. See, the bank has allowed you a 45 lakhs worth of cash credit limit. You are utilizing only 20 lakhs, but still the banker has committed. If tomorrow you are going and you are suddenly withdrawing 25 lakhs more, then obviously the bank has to honor your request. ठीक है, बैंक मना तो नहीं कर सकता. So bank has committed these funds to you. ठीक है, बैंक ने 45 lakhs जो हैं आपके लिए commit कर दिए हैं. Although you are utilizing just 20 lakhs as of now, you will be charged interest onto that. But the remaining portion that the banker has allotted to you or banker has committed for you, the bank is going to charge an interest onto that as well. और बहुत ही nominal charge किया जाता है just to ensure that the bank is committed towards fulfilling your request. ठीक है. Now, short-term loans we understand, right? So short-term loans, these are granted by the banks to meet the working capital requirement. Now, what is working capital? Working capital is your current assets less current liabilities. Those assets which are what you can say, which are which can be converted into cash within a 1 year time period, and current liabilities which you need to pay within a year time period, right? So that is working capital. So every business needs working capital for it, right? So short-term loans, these are granted by the banks to meet the working capital requirements of the borrowers. Generally, such kind of loans are granted for up to 1 year and they are secured by the tangible movable assets like goods, shares, debentures, etc., etc. Next, we have the medium term and the long term loans. Generally, what we call them as the term loans, and these are granted by the banks with all India financial institutions like the IDBI, like IFCI, right? ICICI. So term loans, these are granted for the medium and long term, like generally above 3 years. And why they are given? For the purchase of capital assets, for establishing, let's say, a new factory, for the diversification of a business, right? So these are all the cases for which these kind of term loans are granted. Now, at the time of setting up a new industrial unit, the term loans constitute a part of project finance. These loans are usually secured by the tangible assets like land, building, plant and machinery, which are having a see, if I will give security of inventory for a long-term loan, now that is something mismatching, right? Inventory is for a shorter period of time and the loan that we are seeking over here is a long term loan. So जो भी आपकी लोन की ड्यूरेशन होती है, you are providing the security for that period only. ठीक है, तो अगर मेरा लोन यहाँ पे मीडियम या लॉन्ग टर्म है, then the security that I should be giving should also be a medium or long term tenure, that is land, building, plant and machinery. ठीक है, now next is we are having bridge loans. So bridge loans, if I have to talk about it in a easy manner, it is a simple top up. ठीक है, ये क्या है, एक top up. So what do we mean by top up? See, suppose I have already taken a loan of 20 crores. Now I have an urgent need and I need a loan of 3 crore more. So this my loan account is topped up with the additional amount. So bridge loans are in fact short-term loans which are granted to the industrial undertakings so that they can meet their urgent and essential needs. These are granted in the following circumstances. So when a term loan has been sanctioned by the banks, but its actual disbursement is taking time, right? Formalities are taking time. And when the company is taking the necessary steps to raise the funds from the capital market by issue of equity, bridge loans are provided by the banks or by the financial institution which have granted term loans. Right? Such loans are automatically repaid out of the amount of term loans when it is disbursed or out of the funds raised from the capital market. Right? So for your short-term needs, your loan account would be topped up with the bridge loans, right? And whenever you have received the funds or you have received the funds from elsewhere, ठीक है, या तो आपको लोन मिल गया है बड़ा वाला, either you have received the term loan or you have been able to raise the funds from the capital market. That is means you have raised the funds from other sources. So अगर ऐसा भी हो गया है, then that is called as the bridge loans. Now we have another term called as composite loans. So these are the loans which are granted for both investment. Just wait for a second. Wait. Okay. So now we have the composite loans, right? Capital assets as well as for working capital. So these kind of loans are provided for your capital assets as well as for the working capital purposes. These are usually granted to the small borrowers like the artisans, farmers, small industries, etc. Under the composite loan scheme, both the term loans as well as the working capital, they are provided through a single window. Easy to understand, right? So in the composite loans, you are provided the loans for the long term as well as for the short term, right? For both the cases. So that is why it has been called as a composite loan. Now next we have the personal loans category. These loans, these are granted by the banks to individuals, especially the salary earners and the others with regular income to purchase the the consumer durable goods like the refrigerator, TV, cars, etc. See, personal loans do not have a purpose attached to it. So that is why you will also see a higher interest rate in these cases. See, if I have a business and I have taken a loan for putting up a new factory premises, then at the end of the day, I am building something. ठीक है, मैं कुछ बना रही हूँ. There is a capital asset that I am building over here, right? So that is why that is a secure option. So you will see a interest rate is comparatively less over there. ठीक है, वहां पर कम है. But in the case of personal loans, we do not have a clearly stated aim. ठीक है, एक clearly stated aim तो है नहीं. You are using these particular kinds of personal loans for any purpose that you might like, right? So that is why they also have a higher interest rates attached to them. Personal loans, these are granted for the purchase or construction of houses. Generally, the amount of loan is fixed as a multiple of borrower's income and the repayment schedule is prepared as per his capacity to save, right? Then we have non-fund based facilities. This is a small topic and I would like you to know. So these kind of credit facilities, these are non-fund. That means the bank is right now not giving any funds out of its what you can say treasury, but at a later date of time there may be a liability that can arise. For example, we have two options over here. One is the letter of credit and the other one is the bank guarantee. So the credit facilities that have been explained over above, they are fund based facilities, but bank also provide non-fund based facilities, right? Under these, there is no immediate requirement to provide credit, but if exceptional situations arise, ठीक है, अगर exceptional situations arise हो जाती हैं, then in that particular case, the bank might need to take out the funds. For example, suppose there are two people, A and B. A sold goods to B and B has to pay the money, right? But what B said that I am giving you a guarantee of my bank. ठीक है? So B ने bank guarantee provide करा दी A को कि if tomorrow if I am not able to pay you the money, my bank is going to pay you. Now this is somewhere immediately the bank's liability does not arise because the first person who is responsible for making the payment is B. ठीक है, जो पहला responsibility है वो B के सर पे आएगा. If B is not able to pay up the money, then the bank would be called up to pay the amount. So bank has a secondary liability attached. ठीक है, secondary liability जो है वो attached है बैंक के साथ में. Now let us understand about this as well. See, number one, the letter of credit, what it is. So letter of credit is a written undertaking given by the bank. Who gives it? Bank gives it on behalf of its customer, who is the buyer, to the seller of good, promising to pay a certain sum of money provided the seller is complying with the terms and conditions given in the letter of credit, right? So over here, at the buyer, who is the customer of the bank, he says to the bank that please provide a letter of credit to the seller. So this works as a kind of guarantee. If tomorrow the bank is unable to make the payment, then if tomorrow the buyer is unable to make the payment, then bank is going to make the payment, right? A letter of credit is generally required. It is generally required when the seller of goods deals with unknown parties, right? So obviously, as a seller, he would like to secure his interest. ठीक है, ऐसे ही थोड़ी किसी को भी उठ के जो सामान दे देंगे. They would like to secure their interest. So under such circumstances, he asks the buyer to arrange a letter of credit from his banker, right? The banker issuing the letter of credit commits to make the payment if the seller has supplied the goods within specified period and the seller has complied with other terms and conditions. So if there is no fault by the seller, ठीक है, seller की तरफ से कोई भी fault नहीं है, he has supplied the requisite quality of goods at the requisite time, right, as well as all the conditions etc. they have been fulfilled, then in that case the seller is what you can say the seller is authorized to have the payment, and if the buyer does not makes it, then the bank is going to make it, right? So thus by issuing the Letter of credit on behalf of the customers. The bank help in buying goods on the credit from the sellers who are quite unknown to them. Letter of credit may be revocable or irrevocable. If it is irrevocable, then the undertaking given by the banker cannot be withdrawn. ठीक है, ऐसा भी हो सकता है that the bank says that if such thing happens, right, in these cases of circumstances, we can withdraw our letter of credit, right? So that is one thing. Next, we have the bank guarantee. See, letter of credit is being issued between the seller and the buyer, but over here in the bank guarantee, the bank is issuing the guarantee to the third parties. किसको दे रहे हैं? To third parties on behalf of their customers, right? So guarantees, they can be classified into financial guarantee, can be classified into performance guarantee. Financial guarantee के केस में the banker guarantees the repayment of money on the default by the customer or the payment of money when the customer purchases the capital goods on the deferred payment basis. A bank guarantee which guarantees the satisfactory performance, says the completion of construction work undertaken by the customer. So basically, in the financial guarantee, what you are promising is if the other person is not able to make the payment, we are going to make it, right? And in the performance guarantee, the bank is promising a quality performance of the act, right? Now, I would like to end today's class with this particular topic so that in the next session we can discuss about the borrowers more. This is credit worthiness of the borrowers. So when a bank wants to give the credit, they have to see that whether the borrowers to whom they are giving the advances, they are worth giving or not, right? And it becomes more risky to give advances if the advances are unsecured, okay? If the security is not enough. So that is why the banker has to investigate the borrower's ability to pay as well as the willingness to pay the debt taken. So how they are going to judge? First of all, the character. So it includes a number of personal characteristics of a person like the honesty, integrity, promptness, etc. Whether the person repays the dues, there is a sense of responsibilities, etc. Right? If the person has the character, then the bank, and how does how bank gets to know about the character? Obviously through the transactions, what has been the past history of the borrower, ठीक है? So past history के बेस पे जो है character को judge किया जाता है. Now the next we have the capacity. So in the capacity you will see that the person has the technical skills, experience to run a particular business or not. So many of the times when the bank gives you a loan, the bank also asks you what are your qualifications, ठीक है, आपकी क्या qualifications है, and on the basis of qualifications they tell you that okay, we will be providing you loan or not. So capacity depends on the experience that you are having, the qualification that you are having. And lastly, the capital. So borrower is also expected to have a financial stake in the business, because in the case the business fails, the banker will be able to realize money out of the capital that has been put in by the borrower, right? So hota kya hai? See, if you are an owner, you have invested certain capital into your business. But if tomorrow your business fails, then the bank would be able to recover its amount from the capital. So bank also sees that what is the level of capital you have put in into your business. ठीक है, आपने कितना amount रखा है, so that tomorrow the banker's loss means the banker's amount should not be hampered. ठीक है. So this is it for today's session. I hope you would like this, right? And we will be conducting the classes in the recording scenario. If you did like the class, then please do not forget to give us a thumbs up. And thank you so much for joining in.